Welcome, everybody. It's October 31st. It's Halloween. The Market Update Desk with Scott Riley, NMLS 157524. Just like in the sequels to Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, we're not doing well again today in the market, and it's been a repeat over the last 6 weeks. So let's go over what's happening today. We did get one thing that started or gave us a treat this morning, which was the employment cost index. That showed that quarterly wages or cost to employers, the cost index, rose 0.8% versus the market expectation of 0.9. This is actually one of former Fed Chairman Greenspan's favorite measure of wage pressure, which is a very important data point within Fed decisions and monetary policy. So it was a good thing to start the day. The next is we got some details within the personal consumption expenditure that kind of brought the market the other way. Now, headline PCE, personal consumption expenditure, the Fed's favorite measure of inflation, the non-rounded headline number was 0.17%. Because it was over 0.15, it gets reported as 0.2 versus the actual 1.7. So year over year, we're now at 2.095 versus where the previous month was of 2.27. So you can see we made a little bit of progress there, which is really good. So we were really close to actually being under 2%. Now the core, that actually rose 2.54%, and that strips out volatile food and energy. So that put the year over year at 2.65%, only a slight decrease from the previous month's 2.72. One of the reasons is the 0.254 gets reported upwards because it's over 0.25, so it gets shown as 0.3%. In addition, the previous 2 months, core inflation was revised upwards, so we didn't get a lot of traction there. In the market, it just didn't like it and brought us the other way in bonds and mortgage-backed securities. When we look into a shorter-term run rate than a year, if we look at the 3-month run rate, we're actually at 2.32%. And the 6-month run rate is actually at 2.28, for both of those being core. So those, you can see the more condensed time in real time, we're still showing that consistent progress downward. And this is a main thing that the Fed is looking for when it determines Fed policy as one part of their dual mandates, inflation and then full employment. When we look at the upcoming replacement numbers for PCE for November and December, those are really low. So we're realistically not going to make downward progress. We could actually tick upwards a tenth or so in both headline and core because of those replacement numbers. Now, when we get to January, though, we do see a couple months in a row where we're probably going to make really good headway on both headline and core for replacement cost. So look for January, February, March to have progress on inflation, but probably not November, December. In addition, we see shelter costs, the lag time finally starting to catch up, and we see where those replacement costs are going to really benefit us come January and February. So we kind of get a dual thing that could really give us some traction on inflation and potentially in the bond market coming in January. In more employment data, initial jobless claims dropped 12,000 to 216,000 week over week. And continuing claims dropped a bigger amount, 26,000, and are showing at 1.86 million. Now, one of the interesting things is the BLS never does a good job for seasonal adjustments, and we're coming right now to the season for hiring for the holiday season, which is Amazon, FedEx, UPS, big box department stores, pop-up stores. If you think about Halloween, you get, those Halloween stores, we get the same thing for Christmas. So some of these numbers are probably skewed where those numbers probably won't work through until the first part of the year when we see some updated real-time data versus imputed data. Personal spending. This is another interesting, rose 0.4% as opposed to the market expectation of 0.4%. So we're seeing people still spend, and conversely, we saw personal savings drop 0.1%. So we're seeing people outspend their savings rate, which is why credit card balances are going up, and the continued use and growth of buy now, pay later purchase programs. The Challenger jobs cut. This is one also that didn't help the market today. It showed that large companies laid off 55,597 employees, but the market was actually expecting about 25% more, as 72,821. So that definitely didn't help the market. The 10-year bond staying pretty flat today. It's currently right now at 4.28. Mortgage-backed securities are down 4 basis points to 99.02. Those are off the highs, which were in the green for us earlier in the day. As we go into tomorrow's BLS jobs report, I'm a little bit concerned that it's going to come in higher than expected. When we look at a trajectory and a correlation between ADP and BLS, usually the BLS has more job openings being shown than the ADP, and ADP was 200,000 plus jobs. So I have a suspect that we're going to get a beat on the BLS numbers tomorrow, which is going to be a negative for the market. Hopefully you've been listening and understanding that it's a great time to buy, because with rates being slightly higher, less competition means you might pay less for the house, or be able to negotiate maybe some seller concessions, like a temporary buy down, to help you get into a house and then look to refinance later when long-term rates come down. We'll be all over the BLS numbers tomorrow. We'll get those out as quick as we possibly can. But yeah, it's another day of not having great news in the market, but we're going to keep on top of it, help advise you, and give you all the information. Scott Riley, the Market Update Desk, your singular original market news source for West Michigan. Have a great afternoon.